the girlies say I'm pretty fly for a white girl.
Oh, welcome back, true believers. I'm Matt, your host, on the Heroes for Hire Comic Club channel. Just reading a couple of back issues of old Avengers. I think this is from the 90s. Yep. But welcome back. Today we're doing another episode of Matt's new comic recommendations. And today we will be talking about West Coast Avengers Issue 1. So I didn't know if I was going to like this, but I get it so I can review it for you guys and see if it's any good. Well, I don't know. Cover's pretty cool. One thing we got about this, me interested about this team is we got War Machine and Iron Man's in his old armor, and you got Ultron's on this team and Spider-Woman. So, of course, Ultron is the mass murdering robot who tried to take over the world several times and tried to kill all the Avengers. So I don't know what he's doing on the good side, but we'll find out on the inside, won't we? Well, it starts out, they're in Los Angeles, and Tony's narrating. Tony Stark says, "My name's Tony Stark, and I'm starting up a different kind of Avengers team with my pal Rhodey. It's not the usual roster, and if it works, maybe we'll have fewer villains to fight down the line." There's a smoking building, on fire, of course. There's always somebody in peril. He says, "Tonight's emergency has been fire bombs that were detonated across the city by terrorists." Well, this person comes in there, and he's talking more like a robot to save these. So I think it's a robot. Then you find out it's Ultron. It's saving these people's lives, which is kind of odd, to be honest. And he says, "My name is Ultron. I'm here to save you." And she's like, "We're flying out," because the woman enters with her kid. He's flying them out. She's flying them out. And she says, "I thought you were Iron Man, but you're the robot that the Avengers fight all the time." And he says, "Indeed, I am. But I recently have changed my ways. I need to drop you off quickly. My long-range scans have identified subjects of interest." So then you get to Tony's. He says, he goes, "Sure, the team is different, but so far it's paying off big time. Let me focus on doing the things I love that I'm great at, like running a $250,000 customized sports car on the I-10 freeway." So, so he's getting there, and these other guys come shooting at him, though. And he's trying to get to his thing, and he explains, long story short, so I'm having some armor trouble for reasons I can't quite put a finger on. And that's, if you've read Iron Man 1, that's from that, which I didn't really care for Iron Man, the new Iron Man. But anyway, so he's going to this storage locker while he's getting shot at. And he goes in there and gets his old Silver Centurion armor. You remember? Old school armor. It's one of my favorite armors, and he says it's one of his. And he's talking about it's a little bit old. He says, it's got a lot of humor in it, which I kind of like. I might be a couple of pounds heavier than when I last wore this suit. So he puts on the old Iron Man, and he's got a battery attached to it, duct taped around his waist, a car battery to get it to run because it's not charged. So he comes out, to fight these guys, and then we get the credits for West Coast Avengers. It's written by Jerry Dugan. The artist on this is Danny Kim, and the color artist is Arthur Hesley, and the letterer is Joe Caramanga. Cover artist for this comic is Ben Harvey. So there you go. Let's go, and he's battling, and then we got, of course, John Cassidy passed away recently. So they have a little tribute to him in it, which is awesome. Gone too soon. He was born in 1971. That's not that old. I don't really know what happened to him. I think he had some kind of health problem. Anyway, so let's get back to the story. But anyway, John Cassidy, rest in peace. Condolences to your friends and family. And you will be missed by comic book fans. All right. So we're getting here, and he's like, he fights these guys off, and then you see him. He's on one of them e-bikes down here with the battery strapped to his waist with duct tape. Well, they get down here, and then, they show up, and they got Blue Bolt with them, too. And you got these guys, these terrorists, they said, "We want the United States government to voluntarily recognize our independent nation, and we also want California to give up the water it drinks from the Colorado River." And Blue Bolt, who I think he just got out of prison. They have like a prisoner release program, and he's working for the West Coast Avengers now. And he says, "Why are we even listening to these dillweeds?" And Rhodey tells him because there's hostages in there. And he got Spider Woman shows up. She's part of the team. You see him down here. And so we continue here. So Ultron tells him, right here's Ultron talking to him again. He says, what's he say? He says, it's got a lot of funny little one-liners in here. Surrender. No harm will come to you, and you will receive a fair trial. And the terrorist says, you expect us to trust you, the word of a genocidal robot? Last time I saw you, you was wearing Hank Pym's face. And he looks back at Rhodey and says, well, Ultron says, he's got a point. So anyway, Tony pulls up on his little moped in his Iron Man armor because he's out of juice. And he asks Blue Bolt to give him he says, long story short, he says, Blue Bolt, I need a jump. He said, dude, this is embarrassing. I'm not going to do it. I should have stayed in prison. And Tony tells him, I'll pay you. He goes, all right, how much? And he says, well, how about I pay you and not kicking your ass off the Avengers new prison work release program? And Blue Bolt says in reply, man, the richest dudes are always the biggest tightwads. That's why they're rich, though. Remember, that's why they're rich. All right. So he charges him up. But Blue Bolt's like, I don't want to wait around. These guys, let's get these guys. But so he starts shooting lightning at him. And Ultron tells him there's a gas line under the damn building. But it's too late. It's already blown up. Luckily, none of the hostages got killed. Nobody got killed. But the terrorists got away. But none of the hostages were harmed. So then you go in there. He's in the hospital. He's bragging about how he was the big hero, even though he's the one that made the building blow up. And he says, yeah, Iron Man said to me, my armor's dead, pal. You're the only hope I have. So I powered him up, and then those menaces in the Sovereign Sons blew up the gas line under our... He was the one that blew up the gas line, but to make it sound like he was the big hero, right? Then you see that Jessica Drew's in there talking to this lady's terminal cancer, see? And she's like, well, there's nothing they can do. Getting ready to go on my next journey, which means she's getting ready to die. And they talk to her, and she seems to be in good spirits about it. But remember this woman, because she will come back later on in the story. Well, Spider-Woman asked Tony to fly her around, and you see the girl right there has got cancer. And she's talking about, look, I think I just need to go back to San Francisco. I got stuff to do there. I don't know why. This team's a disaster. Then they're flying overhead. This guy in a car below them in the traffic in LA says, look at those showboating Avengers. Too good for sitting in traffic, I guess. So they're flying kind of over the LA freeway. If you've ever been on the LA freeway, you'd probably rather fly over it too. Trust me. All right. So I've been there a couple of times. Well, one time, but still, that was enough to know that you don't want to be on the LA freeway at rush hour. Okay, so they go out, and he's got this Santa Monica airport he's bought, and he's turned it into low-income housing for poor people, and also there's going to be a headquarters for the West Coast Avengers when they're doing West Coast Avenging. And Tony says, I even got a taco stand to stay, a food truck to pull up and sell tacos to us here. So they're all eating. Rhodey and Ultron are sitting there while Rhodey's eating a taco. And Jessica says, well, I'm going back to San Francisco. I'm working a case. So I don't, it gets kind of weird. Then he calls Firestar, and he says, hey, Firestar, it's Tony. Are you in a nightclub? It sounds like a loud place. Never mind. I'll make it quick. He says, he's telling them we're having a team. He says, we had a couple of superhumans from the prison system who haven't quite worked out great. And before something bad happens, I want to load up on a real straight arrow like you. And they go into, see, Firestar had been undercover in Orcus as a double, undercover, like she was helping them hunt down mutants when they had that whole Orcus thing where they're hunting and killing mutants, But she's not coping with it well because she's like, well, I found some. He goes, I know it says, He says, unless you're already sick of telling everyone how you bounce back after being undercover with orcas. And she says, actually, I found some folks who never even bring up my being in an organization that almost destroyed the world and eradicated mutantdom. Really doesn't come up these days. And he's like, hey, that's great. Well, look at the people she's keeping company with, though. You see in the background, I see Electro. I see Tombstone. I see Rhino. Those are all bad guys. So she's in there getting drunk with a bunch of bad guys. And then she's like, well, sure, I'll join the team. Sounds like fun. But then she tells the bartender, she's like, hey, bartender, I'm dry over here. So she's kind of doing some heavy drinking. I don't think she's a straight arrow that Tony was hoping for. So that's going to be interesting. Well, then, remember I told you about the girl that had terminal cancer that they met in the hospital. And, okay, here she is again. And she's being wheeled in here. Said she was going to church when they left her. Well, I don't know. You might think she's going to a revival, because she's getting ready to cross over, as we say, the Rainbow Bridge or, go to heaven. Well, you get in here, and then there's their pastor is, and I don't know if this is the same Ultron. If it is, I'm kind of nervous. It might be another Ultron because there's been several of them. And she's asking, will this hurt? And he says, only for a minute. So he goes over and grabs her by her neck and pulls her head off. Yes, there's no way to sugarcoat it. He puts it on a Ultron body and says, or can you hear me? And she says, yes. And he says, you'll never feel any more pain again. He says, the singularity approaches, the merging of man and machine, and I am that singularity. Meredith, can you hear me? She goes, yes. Good, now sleep and heal. He says, and welcome to the family. Soon the entire world will hear the gospel of Ultron. Uh-oh. We've already got trouble brewing for the West Coast Avengers, it looks like. So I think the second issue comes out, is it next week or January 1st? I can't remember. But I didn't like the Iron Man story they've had, that new Iron Man comic, but I really thought this was funny. Now, some of the art probably on the inside could be a little bit better. I'm not going to lie. But the writing's cool. I like the writer, Jerry Dugan, anyway. And it's got some humor in it. You see some serious stuff happen. You're wondering if this team, they're like a bunch of ragtag team of misfits. Are they going to come together as a team? Are they going to have more problems? Is this the same Ultron that's trying to form his own religion, or is that another Ultron? We don't know yet. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of intrigue, and there's a little bit of humor in it. So I enjoyed it. So I give it a thumbs up. Check it out. If you like Avengers stories, you'll like it. If you don't, you just think everything new is good and is trash, then there really ain't nothing I can say to make you read it. But I recommend it. That's all I'm going to say. I recommend it. Well, before I go, this video is uploading today, which will be Wednesday. But tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, episode 6 of my show, Comic Conversations, where I talk to another comic book YouTuber, and we have a nice little sit-down, hour-long conversation about comics and, while we're on YouTube and stuff like that. And you never know. We might talk about space aliens or Bigfoots. I don't know. These drones flying over that everybody's worried about. Well, but there's that. Then on Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern, I always do my new Comic Book Day preview and trending top 20 comics. And we do previews. And this week, we're going to review the new Superman trailer, which drops tomorrow, I think. But I think that's it for now. I think we've pretty much covered it. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior.
And all the girlies say I'm pretty fly for a white girl.